It was either drop out or be the next kid that punches a teacher. It was either drop out or lose my temper. So I didn't. I didn't lose my temper. I had to stop, take it easy, relax, take a break. People don't understand. People work their whole lives and they think that's so bad, but they don't understand how stressful study is. How you learn so much and it all just stacks up day after day. And you're like, oh, am I forgetting stuff? And there's methods you can use to get through your study so you don't feel that way. Like you have like a notebook. So you have your textbook, you have your class book, where you write, you write down all the things you're doing in class, and you have a notebook, a separate one, where you just write down things that you think are important. You take the things that are in your book, and you put them in your notebook, like a cheat sheet, like a small book of cheat sheet. Where you're like, this is going to be important. I need like the formula for this. I need to remember this certain element. It's common. I need to remember like how many molecules, how many atoms add up to this. My periodic table, I need to study that. You put all that in a notebook. And then like before exams and half-yearly exams and you can just look at your notebook real quick and just skim a few things. You don't need to look over your whole textbook because that gets overwhelming. Constantly looking over your entire textbook. A textbook has a lot of stuff in it. So you make your own little, and this is how you pass. This is how you get like good grades. And like you can do all that. And you can even deal with your home life being a little bit unstable, because the truth is that university does get unstable. People are very stressed, and a lot of people take alcohol and do drugs, and people are young and experimenting stuff. Students are loud and they listen to music all night. They party. They do things that are very distracting. It's difficult for all of us. So we're juggling study and we're juggling, personal life and stability. But when the faculty just starts messing with you, it's impossible. If the faculty was messing with you and your home life was stable, it might be manageable. But like they know how to mess with you. Like, so what they would do is they would just say like, they'd say like, oh, let's do the formal interview. And I'd be like, okay, when? And they just wouldn't tell me when. And weeks would go by. And I would send them an email, and I'd send an email to like all the people. So like the coordinator, the head coordinator, the teacher involved, the coordinator from the other section of my section, like the other half of the section. Send them all emails asking, when is the time for the interview? And they wouldn't answer me for weeks. So like the only option I have is to go and face them face to face. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that because they're clearly antagonizing me at this point. It's their job as coordinators to not neglect people. So instead of going to them like face up, I'll talk to the social worker. Because I have to at this point. I'll talk to like the legal representation, or I'll talk to like the head of the division. Because that's another thing that you can do, is abusing their authority. You talk to someone who has more authority than they do. And like, this coordinator got in trouble because of me in the end, and I didn't want that to happen. But like, he nearly lost his job, and I think in the end he did lose his job. Just because he just wants to mess with people. And I just thought to myself, how many other people has this happened to? How many innocent people have been pushed around by these bullies? And that's what drove me to do something about it. It wasn't just about me, it was about everybody. I was like, I literally need to get legal representation. I literally need to talk to social workers. This literally needs to fucking change. And I said to them, at one point I said, look, you don't get to pick and choose who deserves to study. And I'm not just imagining a perfect world. This is the law. This is the criteria. This is what is mapped out in your job description as an institution. I've read it. Because I wondered if I was doing anything wrong. If there is some reason I'm not able to study, but there wasn't any. You pay the money to study, or you get the student loan, and it's all on you. Because one of the teachers said, because the coordinator said that he wanted me to leave the course. And one of the teachers, my physics teacher, was like, did he ask you to leave the course? Because he's been talking to me, like, is he trying to get you to leave the course? And I was like, yeah, he did. He tried to get me to sign a document that would make me leave the course. And he was like, he's not allowed to do that. The physics teacher was like, literally, you pay the money, it's up to you whether you study or not. They don't get to tell you whether you can or can't come to school or not. It's because it's an adult learning environment. And the physics teacher was upset, because the physics teacher knew that I was paying attention in class, I was contributing, I was doing really well. I was studying, and he saw potential in me, just like everyone does. So who are these people that are like making my life difficult? Truth is, they have tall puppy syndrome, which is a syndrome that was made by an Australian psychologist. Which is where, like, when you have potential, people just get in your way deliberately because they have to cut you down to size. Because you're not allowed to be taller than the other puppies. Tall puppy syndrome. And it's a metaphor. The psychologist is using a metaphor. In the United States, there's another psychologist. Actually, they take the German, because it's been diagnosed before. This syndrome, this sickness, this mental illness that people have, is called Kruger syndrome, where when you have potential, they try and block your path and stop you from reaching your potential because they think that you should all be on their level. No one's allowed to be any higher because they are very egotistical and they think that they think highly of themselves. So you're not allowed to be any higher than them because that ruins their psychoses and causes them to be distressed and lash out, because in their mind, they're the best. This is what tall puppy syndrome is. So they're the best. So you can't be any better than them. So when you appear to be better than them in any way, they try and cut you down to size and make you just out to be a bad person. Spread rumors about you, scapegoat you to make you appear worse, even if you aren't. And create situations to make you appear as though you're a bad person because they consider you existing showing off that you're better than them. So like I know what's going on because I spent time thinking about it. You know, if I didn't know what was going on with these people, I probably would be insane. But what gives me solace is that I think to myself, I know what's wrong with this person, they're just sick. My business teacher, my business management teacher, was literally crying over the way they were treating me. Because the coordinator was going to teachers and they could tell that the coordinator was just trying to create a problem and the teachers didn't have any problems with me. And the business management teacher was just looked at me, was just staring at me, and literally started tearing up and crying over how I was being treated. The biggest outline that they have in institutions like this is equality. When you sign the document to say, I'm going to study at this institution, these are the rules, no bullying. Equality. No, non-discrimination. But they were discriminating against me. They were bullying me. They were harassing me. I went to a legal website to see, you know, if I can get some legal representation. And on the legal website, it said, are you being harassed or bullied or discriminated against? On the front page, on the home page. It's the first thing. And I was like, yeah, I am being, all of these things are happening to me. It's against the law because it's criminology, it's sociology. This is what creates a criminal. When you treat someone like this, when you discriminate, when you bully, when you harass, that's what causes criminal behavior. The person that you're bullying, discriminating against, harassing will commit a criminal act in their defense. And we don't want criminals. in the community because that's what keeps the community safe. So we don't want people attacking people. So these people are making the community unsafe. It's not just me. Like, you could say, like, oh, it's just you. You're the one. You're the hazard. It's not. It's not just me. They were bullying other students, too. They're just generally making the community an unsafe place for everyone. More mental illness, more disorders, more disgruntled citizens. More criminals. Because what makes a criminal? A criminal mind. Okay, so a criminal mind is someone who feels like they need to be in control. And they will commit criminal acts. Like they will hurt someone, they will torture someone, or they will deal drugs and manipulate people, you know, to try and have control of the situation. And what creates a criminal mind? What creates a person who wants to be in control all the time is they feel like they're not in control. And what makes them feel like they're not in control? Being bullied, being discriminated against, being harassed. So in order to have a safe community where people aren't at each other's throats all the time, these three things need to be taken care of. They need to not happen, basically. If you don't want criminals, you've got to not bully, not harass, and not discriminate. Because everybody knows, like, you know, like with foreigners, like Middle Easterners, if you just discriminate against Middle Easterners because they're Middle Eastern or Muslim, they all just turn into a bunch of criminals. It's not their fault. If you go to the Middle East where they're from, people will be way different because they haven't been discriminated against in their own country. That's what it is. And I'm fighting so hard to not be a criminal. And to not make things unsafe for the community in any way. Because I care. I just care in general. God damn it, he shot me. Yes. Fine. Oh, that was well played. What, 2 Indiana Jones? Come on. Overkill. When I was 14, all I wanted was a job. Didn't happen. All the jobs that I got, everyone just made my life fucking difficult. All my work peers were always harassing me, complaining, telling me what to do, and other work peers were like, why are they telling you what to do like that? And I was like, I don't know, I'm new here. And they're like, it's not their job to do that. They're not the assistant manager, and they're not the supervisor or anything like that. You know, they're just another worker. They're on the same level as you. They have no right to tell you how to do your job. And besides, they would say, the things they're telling you to do are useless anyway. They're just literally just messing with you. All my work peers were all, every mistake that they made, they would say that I did it. I even had a customer complain about me over something that they did. They were telling me what to do, and like, you know, I'm serving them, so I do what they tell me to do. So I did exactly what they told me to do, and then they complained about what I did. So like, that was a horrible experience. You know, I was being bullied by my, and then my manager just fired me one day for being 5 minutes late. And I was 5 minutes late, you know, even further. I was 5 minutes late because my family. And I was telling my family, okay, I'm just going to go to work like an hour and a half early, and I'm just going to use public transport because I can't be late, because, you know, they're harassing the crap out of me. They're verbally abusing me in front of customers. Customers are complaining. My workmates are all blaming the things they did wrong on me. You know, one of my workmates, the one that was on my side, she was flirting with me too much, and that was getting people's attention, the wrong kind of attention, because she stayed after work once behind in the back room talking to me, and then one of my work peers complained about that she was there when she wasn't supposed to be, and then my manager was telling me like it's my fault. And I was like, bro, I'm new here. How am I supposed to know when she's supposed to clock off or clock on? It's not my fault she stayed behind. I thought she was supposed to be working. I don't know how things work. You know, sometimes I look around and I see a bunch of people standing around not doing their job, and I thought that was just how things are here too. Oh. So I'm telling my family, I'm like, I can't be late. Not with the way things are going. And my family's like, it'll be fine. They drove me in the end, and I was 5 minutes late. And I was really stressed, and I was like, oh my god, like, I'm gonna be fucking late. And they were literally just taking the stroll, like, stopping at every, you know, at every side street. Not because they had to, they were just like, they did everything in their power, my family, to make me as late as possible, and it only ended up being 5 minutes anyway. So it's 5 minutes late, and then I go to work, and they're like, don't even bother. They're like, you're fired, and fired me on the spot. And I was like, this is so horrible. And so I had to get myself home as well. And then I was like, well, that was a pretty horrible experience. I'll get a job somewhere else, or I'll do something else. And I was like, well, for the meantime, while I'm looking for another job, I need to be on welfare. So I call up welfare. And I'm like, you know, I've been let go. And then welfare's like, well, we need a payment slip. We need something from your manager to show us that you've been let go, that you've been fired. And so I called my manager, my old manager, and I'm like, okay, welfare wants me, you've got to give me a payment slip, and you've got to write an official document saying that I am now fired. Because the money's been going into my account from your work, and now I need to be on welfare while I look for a new job. And they wouldn't give me the pay slip. They wouldn't give me the pay slip, and my grandma, because she's the one that drove me, she's the reason I was 5 minutes late, so she felt guilty, so she had to call them. And I wasn't losing my temper like I am now, because, you know, I'm not going to get what I want if I lose my temper. It's just going to make everything go worse. There's a time and a place. Like, it's okay for me to lose my temper now. It's not really affecting anything in the long run. But I can't lose my temper at my boss or my old boss, because they have complete power. And they can fuck me over so bad, and she did anyway. She was fishing. She was fishing for me to get upset so she would have an excuse to screw me over while she's already screwing me over. The only way that she could have known me is seeing me pushing my mother around in a wheelchair, because I used to go to the same supermarket with my mother and she was disabled and I'd have to push her in her wheelchair, and I used to go past that place of work before I was working there. That's the only way they could have known me. So why treat me like that? You know, like if I saw a dude pushing his mom around in a wheelchair, I'd think, wow, that's pretty rough. I'm gonna help this dude out. Not sabotage him even further. And all those people just fucking with me. Why? And you might think that I've done something to deserve this. I messed with them or I said some comment. No. I did nothing. I literally did nothing wrong. Actually. The only thing that I did wrong was, like, the girl that was trying to pick up on me. I didn't, like... I had a girlfriend at the time, so I wasn't picking up on what she was putting down. And she kept flirting with me, and she asked me my number. I gave her a fake number. That's the only thing I did wrong. I don't really consider that being something wrong. That's more like doing something right. So yeah, so even though my grandma called them up, they still didn't give me the pay slip. So now I can't get welfare, and I don't have a job, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? And so my mother had to get involved. My mother, my disabled mother, that I used to push around in the wheelchair, now she has to call them for me, because they won't listen to me. They're just bullying me the whole time. They're just pushing me around. And I don't know what my mother said, but eventually they gave me the goddamn pay slip so I could get on goddamn welfare. And I've just been scared shitless ever since. Any job I get, that they can have so much power, they cannot give me a pay slip, and I just have nothing. And then you can just bully me and just blame everything on me, and I do nothing wrong. Why does everyone want to torture me so much? Like, I just feel like everyone's just trying to torture me. And they don't seem happy about it either. It makes no sense to me. Like, you think, like, maybe they laugh about it, but no. They seem distressed. You know, like, so all the things I didn't know at the time, but everyone was complaining about me, and everything they were doing wrong were blaming on me, and one of the customers that complained about me, right? One of the other managers came over, the male one, the husband, and he was being passive-aggressive with me at one point. And he was slamming his fist on the table, and he was telling me all this stuff, and I was just agreeing with it all. I was like, well, yeah, all of this is obvious. I didn't say that, though. I just nodded and in agreement and said yes. I wasn't trying to be a smartass like, oh, come on, I know what you're saying. I treated him with as much respect. You know, I thought that everything he was saying was completely stupid and obvious. But I was like, you know, what am I supposed to do? Like, am I not allowed to have my own thoughts? So I did the best I could to keep a straight face, display no emotion. What did he want? Does he want me to be emotional over it? I'm not gonna. I mean, not at the time, not in the workplace. It's a professional place. It's not a place for, there's a difference between personal and professional. I'm in a professional environment, I need to act professionally. So I can't let my emotions get the better of me in a workplace. That's never going to go well for anybody. That's just work ethics. It's just that's how you do the work. That's how you business. Keep your emotions at home. So I was doing all of that. I was doing all the right things. I listened to everything he said. Didn't know why. Eventually it all came out. You know, people were complaining about me, and that's why he was acting that way towards me. Smashing his fists on the table. The other manager was abusing me in front of customers. She was swearing because I didn't know my job, because she didn't teach me. It was the cash register one time, you know? She's like, go on cash register. I'm like, well, I don't know how to. And she's like, you'll figure it out. The customer came and they wanted a strange order, and I had to do some weird thing with the cash register. You know, there's tricks with every cash register. When people make certain orders and they're like, oh, you gotta put this as this, and you gotta press that, you know, and times it by 2 or whatever, you know, press this button so it's times by 2, and then you get the price for what that is. And I didn't know that, and then she's swearing at me. She's yelling at me, she's swearing at me in front of a customer. You're not allowed to do that. Especially to a new worker, you know, like, what the hell, why do that to me? Just always making me feel like I'm always doing something wrong, even when I'm not. It's like, I know it's out of my power, you know, like, I don't know what to do. What can I do about that? So I asked the manager for help. I'm like, hey, can you show me how to do this? And she's swearing at me, calling me useless, saying I'm stupid, saying I'm a fucking idiot. But people in this country are just fucked up like that. Often. This happens often. It's not just me, you know, it's not just... People in this country just have a shitty fucking attitude. You're probably wondering what country that is. It's Australia. It's like I said, it's just very strict. It's just like a Navy culture. And they just treat you like, that's the kind of shit that you can imagine happening in the Navy. You know, you don't know what you're doing, and they're yelling at you, and they're calling you a fucking idiot. That's just like what they would do when you're training for the Navy. Or in the military. The military is brutal like that. But it makes sense, you know, in the military, it makes sense. Like, I want to join the military. I know they do things like that, but it's for a purpose. They're training you for a life and death situation. To act in that life and death situation. So, like, I understand that life and death situations can happen anywhere. They can happen at the workplace. But in the workplace, you don't have to take action. They will train you not to take action, the opposite, because you could get hurt. But in the military, they train you that you need to take action. So they train you to be a soldier. So there's a purpose to there. There's a method to their madness. So there's a reason behind it. And I'm like sitting there like, so you want me to take control of the situation and react like as in a military manner when I'm working at a fucking fast food joint? When a criminal comes in with a gun and points it at me and I don't have a gun, you know, at least in war, I also have a gun. In war, I know I'm there for war. War is my purpose. And the workplace, it's completely different. I'm not there for war. I'm not supposed to react and take control of a situation. I don't have a gun. They don't give you a gun to work at a fast food joint and say, hey, if anyone comes in with a gun, it's war. So they have no right to treat you like a goddamn soldier who needs to take control, you know, in a military kind of a sense. I understand the difference. I understand that the military treats you that way. But that's the military. We shouldn't have to live our lives every day like it's the goddamn military when we're not in the military. That's not right. You can't treat people like that. There's a criteria you need to meet to be able to join the military because of the effect it can have on you. Because some people can't take it. So if you're just going out and treating everyone in your community like it's the military, that's not right. That's not going to work out. A lot of people are going to fucking have a really fucking difficult fucking time. And you're not going to end up with soldiers. You're going to end up with fucking defects. Defectors. You're going to end up with defectors, misfits, invalids. And that's what we got. That's what our society is right now. Look around. You look around this society, you look around this culture, you see a bunch of invalids, a bunch of defectors, a bunch of deserters. They were never built for this culture. And that's another thing about it, is everybody in this culture just expects me to defect as well. Like, you know, oh, we wouldn't let you study, we got in your way when you did that. And we wouldn't let you work, we got in your way when you did that. Defect. Be an invalid. But I'm not. I'm not an invalid. The truth is, I'm built for this. I'm okay with this. I don't have any mental disorders that would like impede my progress, that cause me to be an invalid or cause me to defect. I have a sense of duty and loyalty. So I'm fine. So they just keep stopping me, basically. They're just stopping me everywhere I go, everything I try and do. They're just trying to get in my way, cause me to be an invalid like most of society is. And they just seem to be saying like, so, just be like everyone else. Just give up. Just smoke crack. Just be a bum. Just be a criminal, go in and out of jail all the time. Just be poor. You know, just be a fucking Aussie, Australian. Like, there's a lot of people, so you might not know about Australia, but Australia is pretty much multicultural. There's not many actual Australians here. But the Australians that are here are considered as invalids. Like, you see an Australian, you're like, oh, you know, that guy could never work. You know, he's Australian. He's a defect. He's a defector. That's the attitude. So people treat me this way, and they're like, just be an Australian. Just be useless. Because that's what they think of Australians. You know, like, if you're... So, for example, I'll give you an example. If you're Chinese, they'll hire you. They'll be like, Chinese have a good reputation. They're hard workers. If you're European, they'll hire you. But if you're an Australian, they don't want to hire you. I'm just thinking, you know, I said before, I used the metaphor that it's like, you know, I'm in a place with all these different paths, but I can't take any of the paths. All the paths are blocked. And I'm just thinking, you know, being a defect, being an invalid, that's a path. It's a shitty path, but it's still a path nonetheless. But I can't take that path either, honestly. slow up, yo. Dude, I'm trying to heal you. Dude, I'm trying to revive you. I just wanted to grab the saber. Oh my god, you crawled all the way to the saber. Well done. So, like, what the? Oh, that was unfortunate. Help me out here. Alpha, help me out.
Can you give me back my lightsaber?
I didn't take it. We gotta go, Storm.
Oh.
So the truth is, alright, so the truth is, you know, people are sick, they got tall poppy syndrome, they got Kruger syndrome in Australia. But that's not always so bad. Like, if people have Kruger syndrome and the standard is high, and they're like, well, you can only be good. But the standard in Australia is low. So you can't be any better than crap. If you're any better than crap, they get upset. No, like, so everything needs to equal out. So when it comes to Kruger syndrome, like, it's like we all have these stats, like Dungeons and Dragons or something, or like, you know, Magic the Gathering cards. There's the stats, you know, like there's like strength and agility and all that. You know, and that's how people, this is how it works mentally. They don't think about it, it just happens. There's no other way it could happen. So they look at you and they're like, oh, you know, do you have charm? Do you have agility? And if you have all these things, they're like, oh, well, you can't have too much. And then so you'll be like, you know, this all happens without even thinking. You think like, automatically, so what's the level? So imagine this, for example, this is a good metaphor for it. So you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, but your team, there's 4 of you on the team, but you can only be a certain level. You can't be any higher. So all your characters have to be at this certain level. And so if you were playing Dungeons and Dragons and you had 3 other players and you're not allowed to be any better than them, right? And you would probably think, that's unfair. I should, from my experience and from beating enemies, I should be able to get more experience, you know, how can we all just stay at the same level? That doesn't make sense. That's not fair. I don't want to play that game like that. You know, we all have the exact same weapons, same levels. That's not a fair way to play Dungeons and Dragons, as a metaphor. Now imagine that not only do you have to be at the same level, you're not allowed to be any better, but also the level is extremely low. To the point where the character that you need to be the same as is an invalid. Like, bad. Like a bad Dungeons and Dragons character. Like he's like disabled. So you're not allowed to be any better than your squad of disabled people. So you have no choice but to be basically disabled. Are you trying to be any better? They just won't let you play the game. If Australia was a game of Dungeons and Dragons. That's the thing, that's the problem. So that's what's going on with me. That's what's happening. It's a syndrome. And a lot of Australians have this syndrome. Like, I don't want to say Australians, I don't just mean the Australian ones. I mean the Chinese that live here, the other nationalities, the Europeans, everyone that's part of this multicultural culture, all have this syndrome that makes them sick. So it makes them act out of character. It makes them do things like, you'll witness things in Australia and you'll turn around and you'll be like, what the hell is going on? Why is that person acting that way? That's completely crazy. What's going on is that person actually is crazy. They have a syndrome. They actually have something wrong with them mentally where they're trying to impede your progress. They're trying to stop you from reaching a level that's any better than they are. And they will lash out and they will call you names and they will bully and they will discriminate and they will harass you and they'll do everything within the power to obstruct your path from going anywhere. So when I say that I feel like no matter which path I take, it's blocked, it's the truth. And I'm not the only one. All Australians, we all feel this way. All the ones that are actually good. All the ones that aren't like defect. All the ones that aren't like retarded and disabled. Every Australian feels like every path is just blocked. Because the standard is so low. Like, for example, okay, like, the education in Australia is very low. The funding for education is low. The effort is low. The emphasis, the expectations are low. So like it's on top of being like, so you're like, okay, I can't go this way, I can't go that way, so I'm just gonna chill. And sometimes you meet people and you're like, I'll have a talk to this person, but the person you're talking to, there's nothing to talk to them about because they don't have any education. They don't have an education, they don't know what's going on in the world. You know, like, you can't talk to them about science, they don't know what's going on with science, they haven't been educated in science. You can't talk about maths, you can't talk about history. What can you talk about to someone who's uneducated? Oh yeah, weather. Look at the weather today. This is another problem. Herein lies another problem. The fact that there's so little going on in people's lives because they don't know anything. They don't have any education. They don't respect education. They don't think it's important. They don't worry about it. So they have nothing to talk to about with each other about, so they're bored. Right? So everyone's just walking around completely bored out of their minds. And so what do they do to be entertained? They lie. They make up stories, and they just make up all this random crap. They don't actually have an education, so they make up false facts. You know, well, not facts, false. They go around just spreading misinformation because they don't have anything better to do. They don't have anything to talk about, so they just make up random things. Now, they've been making random things up for so long that by word of mouth, these things have spread and created a community of misinformation. So now, like, within this society is a society of uneducation, of made-up lies, that people are actually aware of each other's lie and keep it going. Due to a lack of education, they've made their own make-believe education, and they all know it. And so, like, if I wasn't aware of this, I would be crazy. I'm borderline crazy already. Like, I think I'm a bit crazy anyway. No one should be losing their temper like this. No one should be upset.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Alright.
Why, what's up?
Where do you want to land?
Rocky Wheels.
Alright, Rocky Wheels, alright.
And no one should be made to feel this way. It's horrible. I'm dead already. I'm on this tower.
Oh god, wait, I have to get a weapon. I'm gonna die. Oh. Ooh, why is there a person right there?
I don't know, everyone decided to land here. I guess maybe we should have landed somewhere else.
Ow, what? No! Ah, man, this was a bad choice.
And I'm so tired of living in this society with all these just sick people. All these just, you know, psychotic people. Like, the culture is psychotic. The definition of psychosis is to a false reality. The people in this culture are so uneducated that they've just made up their own version of how things work, and they just live inside of that make-believe world.
Wait, I think there was a battle bus around this place. I don't know.
I think this person's just AFK.
I'm pretty sure he is. Wait. Yeah, he's AFK. I could
Like,
go.
being sane is relative. Like, so what's considered crazy somewhere else is considered sane in another place. You know, it's a matter of culture and society. Now, in this
Yeah.
culture that I'm in, everyone's crazy. So being crazy is normal. Being psychotic and not being in the real world and living in this imaginary world, this make-believe world where they're not educated and they've just made everything up to keep themselves entertained. Because they're bored. So they just make things up. Australians literally just sit there and they just look at some random person and they will just make up an entire backstory. Like it's some kind of D&D character. It's like, there's a random person, I'm just gonna make up an entire fucking backlog, you know, lore and mythology and you know, what do you call it? Backstory. And then they believe the backstory, the made-up one, rather than the reality of who the person really is. I encounter this all the time. I've had so many friends that go, oh, this guy, you know, oh, this and this person's this. And I've always been like, well, I'm going to go and find out for myself. And I go and I be friends with the person and I find out that they were talking total crap. This person's nothing like that. Everything they said was untrue. They just made it all up. And then everyone's like, oh, well, I'm not going to be friends with you either now. And I'm like, well, I don't care. I'm not going to be friends with someone who's psychotic, who just makes up things. What's the purpose of being friends with somebody who's just going to make up
What's up?
lies?
Hello?
I
Hello?
don't know, what's up?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Not much. How's Cali?
Who the freak is Kylie?
How's California these days?
I don't live in California.
Yeah, well, you obviously live near there because it's a West Coast server.
I live in Montgomery, Alabama.
All right, well, that's pretty in the middle there, closer to Texas and shit.
Wait, are you an emo?
Yes, I'm an emo.
Oh no. I kinda like...
I'm like the worst emo, or the best emo. I'm like a street kid, scene kid type emo, punk,
Wow.
goth kind of dude. Alternative, whatever. Street punk, fucking misfit, horror punk kind of. Yeah, I'm emo. You know, so the job didn't work out. The study didn't work out, so I go to the military.
You went to the military before?
Yeah, they wouldn't accept me.
Because you were emo?
Yeah, maybe just because I'm emo, actually. They didn't really have a reason. They just made one up. They didn't even, like, let me have my psychological evaluation.
Wow.
Yeah, they wouldn't even let me get to step 1. So, like, okay, I was a bit of a dick. You know, I've been going to the military for years. And trying to join, right? And one time I went to the military and I was joking around with him at the recruiting office. So here's what I was doing. So I went to the dude in the Air Force. I was like, oh, so have you seen a UFO lately? And that's kind of not really fair. That's not really respectful. You know, it's kind of bullying. You know, asking a dude in the Air Force if he's seen a UFO. And that wasn't the only thing I did. I was like, oh, so do you have a copy of the Zombie Survival Guide? Because, you know, that's another thing. And the dude was like, oh. So this guy's in the Air Force. He's, what was his role? He's like some form of intelligence. It was like, no. It's, I can't remember right now, but it's something to do with, like aeronautical intelligence was like his role in the military. And I'm like, oh, so you'd have a copy of the Zombie Survival Guide? Because I know that everyone in the Air Force has one. It's like a thing that dudes in the Army say about the Air Force. And he's like, oh, that's more of an American thing, isn't it? I'm like, so he didn't deny it. But anyway, so then I get this letter from the captain who works at the recruiting office, sends me an email and a letter saying like, oh, you know, I don't think you're right for the military, you know, you're talking about UFOs and zombies, and I was like, dude, it's just a joke. I'm like, I don't actually believe in UFOs, like, come on. And so I said, like, look, I'm sorry, I apologize for being disrespectful, you know, I had the wrong attitude. You know, like, I shouldn't be so disrespectful, you know. I was like, I don't believe in UFOs, you know, I know about spatial anomalies, and the spatial anomalies that can't be explained with science are 0.01% of anomalies that are witnessed by Air Force pilots. That's the percentage that can't be just explained by physics, you know, like a visual delusion. A visual illusion, or a delusion from lack of air, which is, it's really kind of mean to like pick on a dude from the Air Force and be like, oh, you're seeing UFOs because you're like getting head spins from the G-force gravity. Which was mean. I shouldn't have done that, and I apologized. And I went back to the recruiting office, even though he was like, oh, you can't come back. I just went back anyway. I'm like, well, what if I just go back? So they had another information day, and I came back, and the captain was there, and he saw me, and he looked at me, and he asked for the other guy. He asked for the clipboard with all the names on it, and he looked at me, and he looked at the clipboard, and he found my name, and he's like, okay, so this guy's still here. Can't get rid of him so easy. And they let me sit through the thing, and they tested me, like they said my name, my full name, and to see if like I was upset about them treating me the way they treated me. But I wasn't upset. I was just like, yeah, I know, I was out of line. I explained it all in my reply. And after the session, the officer was talking to a lot of people, and I waited in line. I was the last guy in the line, because you can talk to the officers after they've done their presentation. And when I saw him, he had a smile on his face, and he said my full name. And I was like, you remember me? You remember me by face? He's like, of course I remember you. And I'm like, you don't think I'm not in trouble? Like, you don't want me to be here? He's like, no. He's like, I think it's great that you're here. He's like, I'm impressed. He's like, this shows that you have drive. Like, this makes you a better candidate. So I want to join the Air Force, so they get me this guy from the Army. And this guy from the Army offers me one of the best jobs in the Army. A crane operator. A crane operating... Could you imagine that? Operating a crane in the military. Also, there's an inside joke about cranes. Cranes are how you stop zombies. In the Zombie Survival Guide, there's a section that says the way they stopped zombies once is they got a crane and they started moving shipping containers and they kept the zombies out that way. So it was like an in-joke as well. But I was like, no, I want to join the Air Force, dude. I'm sorry. Like, I don't fit in the military. I don't feel like it's not my vibe. I'm really educated. I don't have any paper to show for it, but I've been studying for so many years, and I studied really hard. I actually know my stuff. I was studying the textbook. A lot of people go to college and they study and they don't actually learn anything. Nothing sticks. They just learn what they need to know. They do their exam. It's in one ear, not the other. They don't actually learn anything. They don't remember it. But I remember it. I studied it so hard. I made my notebook. I did it all so well. And like, not everyone in the Air Force is totally educated, but there's more of like an upper class kind of a feel to it. And I'm not gonna have a good time anywhere else in the military. And so the officer is like, he wants me to be an officer like him. He sees great potential in me. I think, I don't know, he didn't say this, but I think that he thinks that I'm a leader. Because I was just trying to join as general entry. Because I've been trying to get my degree at college, and I've been encountering all these obstacles, and I was like, you know, time's getting on, war's coming, I'm just going to have to join up as a general entryman. General entry and just do, you know...
Can you give me back my shotgun, please? Thanks, bro. Okay, you can continue now.
Yeah, dude. Thanks. Yeah, so I go and I'm like, I'm just gonna be a general entryman, and the captain's like, nah. He's like, bro, you're only getting in as an officer. He's like, you're under my wing now. And he's like, go do your study, come back. He's like, we'll have a chat in a couple years. And he's like, if you get good marks, I'll give you a chance at the military academy, military university. So I was checking out the military university, what they have to offer. And I was like, fucking what? They've got
What happened?
They've got a double science degree at military university, chemistry and physics, right? And it outlines like 5 core courses. And part of the courses is astrophysics. And I was like, that's fucking dope. And in chemistry, they teach you explosives. And I'm like, what? I'm like, this is the coolest course. And I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. But then, so what I did was I did university entry-level science to get some credits. So if I get a good degree, I've got some credits as well. Credits are important too. Units and credits. And I'm like, I do the science, tertiary science, and I get some goddamn credits. I'm doing my tertiary science, and there was a dude screwing with me. And it was having an effect on me, and he wouldn't leave me alone. And I went through all the proper channels once again. I went to the social worker, I got legal representation, you know, I talked to, there's like a thing called like student, problem solving or whatever the fuck it is between students. You know, like they don't want a confrontation between 2 students, so they intervene early if you reach out. And they talk to both the students and they come to some kind of agreement. And they said, well, what do you want in a situation? I'm like, I just want this guy to leave me alone. I was like, I'm here to study. I literally said these words. I'm here to study. I need to pay attention in class. And they said, he probably wants to be your friend. And I'm like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here.
I feel sometimes that actually happens to me sometimes.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here to learn. I said, like, I'm here to study. I don't need friends. Yeah, friends are good, but that's not why I'm here. If I want a friend, I'll go somewhere else, you know, where you make friends. You know, maybe once we do our mid-year exams, we could catch up. Or end-of-year exams, but not like in the beginning, because that's just going to be a distraction. And he was inviting people out to get drunk. He had a job at the casino, and he's like, oh, you know, come hang out. You'll get free drinks. And I was like, I don't want to drink. I'm here to study, not to be drunk. A lot of students do get drunk, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help me, especially. It's the only thing that really, personally, makes me unstable. Because I've done, like, talked to social workers and I've done personality tests. And I did it honestly. And we found out that my only real problem is that I drink a lot. I've got my other thing that makes me different to everybody else is I'm way too independent. I'm as independent as the charts will show. When it comes to personality, I have the most independent personality, and that clashes. It clashes with relationships. I can't have a relationship because I'm too independent. Some people are codependent, which means, you know, they need a wife or a girlfriend always, a helper. But I am independent, which means I don't need any of that stuff. So it impacts my relationships. Women think that I don't need them when I'm in a relationship with them. And it's true, I don't fucking need them. I never needed them. I want them to be in my life because it's just what I want.
True.
But that's not enough for most women. Most women are, in Australia anyway, most of the ones that I've encountered are very manipulative and very insecure, and the only way they can feel good is if you need them. You need to be codependent. You need to rely on them. You need to have them, because, you know, if they weren't insecure, that wouldn't matter, because they just think, oh, well, he still wants me anyway. He doesn't need me, but he just wants me because I'm the shit. That's what a secure person thinks. But an insecure person thinks, oh no, he doesn't want me, like, oh, he doesn't need me, there's no reason for me to be here. You know, he can cook for himself, he can clean for himself, you know, I'm not useful. And I'm like, you're supposed to be a feminist. All that stuff's not supposed to matter. Cooking and cleaning and cliches. Codependency, baking, baked goods, you know. But, you know, it still matters to women. That's how they value themselves. Women in this culture think so lowly of themselves that the only purpose they have in a relationship is to serve their partner. And I don't need them to do that. So they feel insecure. So yeah, so my independence impacts my life, but that's not a very bad thing to have. But my alcoholism is bad. So I drink alcohol, I go really crazy. Based off of my personality assessment. Because, you know, like, you don't have to do it. Like, social workers give you the option. They're like, you can do a personality test and we can tell you about you. Things you need to change in your life, things you need to improve on, and things that you're good at. But I'm like, well, I want to do it. I want to learn about me. So you see, at this point, like, if you've been listening, which you have, you probably tell that, like, there's not really much advice that anyone can give me either. Which also makes people feel very insecure about themselves. They're like, oh, I can't advise this person. I can't help them. You know, they've got their shit on lock. Like, I've got my shit on lock. Oh, really?
Build.
I'm not a builder. I'm not Bob the Builder, okay? Did you get him?
Yeah, he did.
Nice. If we can res our boy, we should do it now, because it's the only chance we're gonna get. We got dude. I'm missing. I missed with every shot. He's coming. Got him. Oh, there's another! Oh! 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 I mean,
They were
we
in
didn't
third
win.
place.
We didn't win, but that was dope, though.